How's it going, gamers? It's Chongo here, and today I've got a video for you guys. It's going to be all about E3. So I'm basically going to give the rundown of what actually happened in the conferences and basically my highlights. I'm not really going to go through everything because there was 4 conferences and there was a lot of information and games displayed through them, but I'll go through the main things. And down the bottom you'll see I've got, little links that you can click to skip over conferences if you don't want to hear about certain things. So let's get into it. So I'm going to go through these in the order that they actually were aired. So first off we had Microsoft, and that was quite early in the morning. Now they decided to do a reversal of what they did from last year. Instead of, focusing on pretty much TV and all the extra features of the Xbox One, this time they focused completely on games to the point that they never even mentioned Kinect or hardware or anything. It was just game, which was really, really good to see them, completely change, and I think they had one of the best conferences of the whole day, considering that they went for this approach. So to kick things off, they started off with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I'm not that interested in it, although it did look good on next gen, if you will, or current gen. And then they moved over into Forza Horizon 2, which looks really good as well. Then they had an Evolve trailer in there, which showed some new gameplay. It looked interesting, but yeah, it was just like a really short trailer. Now the cool thing that they moved into was Assassin's Creed Unity, where Ubisoft had announced that there's going to be 4-player co-op available in Assassin's Creed Unity, which was really awesome, and I'm surprised it's taken them this long to bring that into Assassin's Creed, but I'm thinking that's why they've called it Assassin's Creed Unity, and it just seemed really cool to go down and, take down an enemy with some other players and have them help you in a mission. And later on in Ubisoft's conference we found out that the co-op isn't like a full-on co-op game. I think there's just certain missions in the game that you can do with friends, we assume. They then showed off a trailer for Dragon Age Inquisition, which was looking really good. Then they moved over into a trailer and explanation about what actually Sunset Overdrive is, and it's coming out on October 28th. Now this is an exclusive for the Xbox One, and it looked amazing, just them, showing how fun this game is. And, I think at the start they were making fun of Battlefield, so everyone was like, what is this trailer? Then all of a sudden the main character not even the main character actually, because they've said that you create your own character, just barges in and saves this Battlefield guy. It was really funny, and I would recommend you go and check out all these trailers. I'll have a link to them in the description. There'll probably be quite a few there. They also had Fable Legends, and that's an exclusive. They had some gameplay of that looked okay. Project Spark looked really interesting. That's their kind of version of Little Big Planet, where you can create your own content, and I haven't seen too much about that other than seeing this trailer and hearing that there was a beta a while ago. That was pretty much it. And then they announced the big thing that's been rumored. It was the Halo The Master Chief Collection, which has Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 all in the one game for $60 US, I'm assuming, roughly $100 Australian, which was really cool. And they said they're going to be keeping the same multiplayer from Halo 2 and trying not to change stuff, but they're still going to be running it at 1080p, 60 frames a second, which is really awesome. Then they slowed down a bit and moved over into the indie scene, which they focused on quite a bit. I was surprised that they did this. I mean, it's good to see them doing this. It was the ID at Xbox thing where they talked about indie and what they're doing there, as well as showing off inside the new game from the developers of Limbo, which looks really cool, although that's not an exclusive to Xbox One. That's coming out on pretty much everything, I think. Then they showed us a teaser trailer for the next Tomb Raider game, which looks really good, and apparently that's not coming out till the very end of next year, but it does look really amazing in the CGI trailer that they did show. Then they showed off some gameplay of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt that looked amazing on the Xbox One. It's going to be very good to see that running on PC. Then they did another gameplay of The Division, and it wasn't really showing us anything new. They pretty much just showed exactly, not exactly the same one from last year, but very similar to what they did last year on the PlayStation in their Ubisoft's press conference time. They did that for Xbox, and there wasn't much different there. There was, a different setting, but that was pretty much it. Then they went and announced 3 exclusives before they finished off the show. That was Scalebound, Phantom Dust, and Crackdown. And I'm really excited about Crackdown because it looks really awesome, although it is just a CGI trailer. And the thing that was missing from this press conference that most people thought they were going to see was a CGI trailer for Gears. All there was just a splash screen at the end of the conference, which, I mean, they're obviously doing something with it. They bought the Gears of War license back in January, but my guess is if you've bought a license back in January, they only probably started at that point, so they wouldn't really have anything to show gameplay-wise. And maybe they thought instead of wasting their time doing a CGI trailer, they thought it's probably better just keep working on the game and then reveal it next E3 or sometime early next year. So overall, I was very impressed with what Microsoft did. They completely improved upon what happened last year. I mean, it wasn't really hard, but they did really well. There was no mention of Kinect or TV or anything like that. They focused on exclusives, and it's definitely changed my opinion about the Xbox One, and I will be getting one later this year, probably around the time Sunset Overdrive comes out. There just seems to be a lot of awesome exclusives there. Okay, so now moving over into the EA press conference. This press conference was a little odd. I didn't really like it as much as Microsoft's or as much as anyone else's really, mainly because they did this weird thing where they instantly started off showing Star Wars Battlefront, which it looked amazing, but they didn't do CGI. They just showed like a behind the scenes video, and we got to see like a small amount of, I think it was just CGI, I believe, in-game engine stuff maybe, but there was no real gameplay or anything like that, which, you know, they have been working on it. I didn't really expect that kind of stuff, but I would have preferred seeing a CGI trailer as well as a behind-the-scenes thing, as opposed to just, you know, here's behind the scenes for 1 minute and 20 seconds. And they also showed that, you know, behind the scenes of Mass Effect, where we saw like a few small things, but didn't say what it was or who it's based on or anything like that. No CGI trailer, nothing like that. And then they said they're also working on a new IP without announcing a name for it or any CGI trailers or anything like that, which I would have preferred for them to do a CGI trailer. Just, you know, I kind of feel that gets the hype going and gets the understanding of the game going better than just showing a behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. Now, they also showed off a Dragon Age Inquisition trailer, a new trailer, as well as some gameplay, which was looking really good. Then they moved full on into sports stuff, and I'm not really that big of a fan of that. They spent quite a long time on sports stuff. I think it was about maybe 20 minutes at least, where it was just like, you know, sports game, and it was kind of weird, and I think most people were kind of getting disinterested at that point. And then they moved into Criterion Games doing a new extreme vehicle racer. Same deal with Star Wars and Mass Effect. They announced like a really cool concept, but they only show behind the scenes. They don't show a CGI trailer of where they want the series. It's just, you know, a guy coolly jumping from one vehicle to another in something that's definitely early footage, as they said. They then moved over into Mirror's Edge 2, which looked amazing from the gameplay that they did show, but this was still a behind the scenes thing like that they were trying to show for everything else, it seems. But they did show a lot more gameplay than in the other games, so that was good to see some of that. Then they spoke about Battlefield Hardline for a bit, which was really cool, and this was at the end of the show. And then they just announced out of nowhere that the beta's coming out, like right now. You could sign up to get it, and I've downloaded it and I've been playing it on PC. I couldn't find an NDA, but just to be safe, I haven't put up any gameplay of it, so you're just seeing Battlefield 4 in the background. But yeah, I will find out if I'm able to do that, and then in the coming days you'll see my, you know, experience of the Battlefield Hardline beta. But it was really cool how they just said, you know, it's available on PlayStation 4 and PC right now, go and sign up. Even though the servers got hit really hard after that, you know, 30 minutes later I was able to download it and give it a go. So I just kind of feel that EA's press conference was lacking in the way of, you know, having CGI trailers and generating, you know, hype, because it seems like the Star Wars Battlefront thing they showed last year that was only literally a couple of seconds sort of generated more hype than what they showed this year. Well, that was just me personally, even though we did get to see more and it did look really good. It's just the CGI trailer seems to generate, you know, more hype and more interest in a game, I sort of find. And maybe the reason that this E3 conference for EA didn't work as well or didn't go as well as they'd planned is maybe because Battlefield Hardline did leak. If it hadn't leaked, it probably would have been very interesting seeing people's, you know, thoughts on a game, you know, straight up, and then all of a sudden there's a beta for it. I think that would have worked a lot better for them. So now moving over into Ubisoft. Ubisoft had a really good press conference. The pacing of it worked really well, I found. Like, I was never really bored. I was always interested in the whole hour it was going. They started off with the Far Cry 4. It was the very beginning. They showed like 7 minutes of gameplay, which was really interesting, although that was just CGI. They saved the actual gameplay for Sony's press conference, which was a bit awkward, but I kind of expected them to do that because that's what seems to happen nowadays at E3. Then they moved over into Just Dance 2015, something I'm not really interested in. Then they did like a full-on CGI trailer for The Division, which was really well done and kind of set the whole tone for the game. I'll have a link for that in the description. It was definitely a really awesome trailer. Then they moved over into a gameplay trailer for The Crew, showing off the way that you could just, you know, one mission will be just drive to a place it'll take you an hour to get to and take in the scenery and that sort of thing. So it was really awesome to see how that would work, and they had like a picture of the car and it was fast forwarded, so you'd see all these little landmarks that you'd see on your driving trip. And they announced the release date for that, which was November 11th, I believe. Then they moved over into Assassin's Creed Unity, and they showed, you know, how interesting the world is now, as well as showing how fast the parkour seems to have been. They seem to have upped up the pace of that, as well as, you know, it was easier to go down in buildings instead of just jumping off into a hay like the Assassin's Creed series seems to always do. You seem to be able to actually climb down, and it looked really awesome. They also showed off the Rainbow Six Siege thing that we predicted in the predictions video, and everyone was sort of pointing out that, you know, we hadn't heard about it, so you probably would see something. So they've basically got this new game, Rainbow Six Siege, instead of Patriots. Patriots has been cancelled and they were making this game, so they didn't want to announce cancellation of that game before they showed this game off, and it looked really cool to see a new Rainbow Six game. However, they didn't show taking cover, so I'm not sure if they've left that in the game or completely chucked it, but they showed working together in using tactics to take down people who have captured a hostage, as well as really cool destructibility in the game. I'll have a link in the description along with all the other trailers, but yeah, it seemed really awesome the way they were going with the series. So now moving over into Sony's press conference. Sony's press conference kicked off with a Destiny trailer, which looked okay, but it still seemed a bit odd. I don't know what they were going with that, but then they announced the full-on new white PlayStation that you can buy with Destiny when that comes out, so that was really cool. And they've said, exclusive content with Destiny. They've been saying that quite a bit lately, how you can get the beta first and all that kind of stuff, as well as signing up for Alpha Access this week, which I think, if you get in, you might be able to play this week, which was pretty cool. They then jumped from that to Order 1886 and showed a short clip of gameplay, which was looking really awesome. Then they jumped from that to Intertwined, an indie game, which was kind of weird to do it the way that they did it like that. I would have thought they would have put all their indies together as opposed to jumping to an indie every now and then. Maybe they just wanted to vary it up. Then they moved along to Infamous Second Son DLC, but it doesn't need the base game, so it's not really DLC. I don't know, it was a really weird situation where I think they were trying to get people who hadn't played the game to play this, because it'll obviously be cheaper, it's just the DLC, and then they could, move over to Infamous Second Son. Then they jumped into Bloodborne, which was Project Beast that leaked quite a while ago, and it's basically created by the same people who did Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, and it looked really interesting with the CGI trailer that they did show. And then they moved on into talking about Little Big Planet 3 and showing gameplay, as well as saying it's going to be released at the end of this year. And they've showed new characters that, have different abilities, which seemed really cool. So now moving over into Far Cry 4, they showed off actual gameplay of Far Cry 4. It looked amazing on the PlayStation 4. I can't wait to see what that would look like on PC. And then they had some weird thing where they said the exclusive thing to do with Far Cry 4 with PlayStation is that you can invite your friends into a co-op game even if they don't own Far Cry 4. Which was very weird, and I think most people was taken back from that. They were like, what? That doesn't make any sense, but okay. So that's the exclusive thing. I'm guessing that maybe co-op's a little bit separate from the full game, and they hope that this will be treated like a demo, so people play it and they go, oh, that's really cool, and then they actually buy the game. Then some weird announcement trailer for Dead Island 2. It was a pretty good trailer, but it was odd that they're announcing another Dead Island game. I thought that was weird considering that, Dead Island 1 wasn't as well received, and Dead Island Riptide was okay, but they've also got Dying Light. When I first saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, it's Dying Light, but then it wasn't. So, Dead Island 2, and apparently the beta's coming first to PlayStation 4. They've also got Magicka 2 coming to PlayStation 4, which was really cool as well. And then they just moved full on into indie games. There was heaps of time on indie games, all different ones, and having their console debut on PlayStation 4. But I wasn't as interested in this segment, mainly because most of these were already on PC, so it was kind of, just I could have already played these games. I've played these games, I don't really need them on the PlayStation 4. Then they moved into No Man's Sky, which I think may be a PlayStation 4 exclusive. They haven't announced any other consoles at this point, or PC or anything like that, but it probably will eventually come to PC. But that game just looks amazing, how you could just, go and explore planets and then, meet up with other people randomly while exploring all these different planets while they're randomly created. They also spoke a little bit about Project Morpheus. They didn't really say anything other than it will be available at E3 to play, which doesn't really help all of us watching this video right now. But they also pushed really hardcore free-to-play games on the PlayStation 4, and that PlayStation Now is going to be entering beta at the end of July, and you can do this PlayStation Now experience also on Sony TV, so you don't actually even need, a PlayStation 4 to use PlayStation Now. And then they moved into somewhat boring part of the conference where they talked all about TV and some new shows they've got coming to PlayStation 4, where it was just kind of boring, and it was surprising to everyone. On Twitter was going off about it, saying, didn't they learn from Xbox last year? You shouldn't really talk about TV stuff, especially in a way like this. It's cool to have that stuff with your console, don't get me wrong, but talking about it at a games conference, your audience wants to hear about games. What happened with Xbox last year, people got mad at Microsoft, and rightfully so, because they weren't really talking about games. But yeah, they spent a lot of time here. The hype was just dying as people were watching it. It was getting quite boring. They then showed off a trailer for The Last of Us Remastered, and that's coming out in the end of July. They then showed off the trailer for Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain that had already been leaked. And then the big announcement that they had that most people were predicting, and we had the prediction, or the, one-off prediction, that they would announce GTA 5 for the PlayStation 4. And that's what happened, but it was really weird because even though it wasn't Sony's press conference, everyone else was more checking what else it's on instead of worrying about it's just on PlayStation 4. Although the trailer they showed did look really cool, but the big news is it's coming out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC at the end of the year, so that'll be really cool to, you know, see mods in that game, because that'll be amazing, as well as how good that'll look on next gen and PC, considering I sort of felt there was some problems with GTA 5 on the PlayStation 4 with texture popping and that sort of problem. And then to close it off, they showed an Uncharted 4 short CGI trailer, which was okay, but I think more people wanted to see some gameplay or something else, considering it was sort of teased last E3 and that sort of still got teased this E3. So that was the end of Sony's press conference. I thought it was okay, but I kind of preferred Microsoft's. I kind of felt they were a little bit more focused with what they were doing, whereas Sony's just felt a little bit too long and just had some random games chucked in there for no reason. Like they had a Battlefield Hardline trailer that was literally just, you know, like a minute or two of stuff we'd pretty much already seen, as well as having a Dead Island 2 announcement trailer and just some other weird stuff that didn't really feel like it fitted in there or just seemed odd to begin with. But yeah, I felt Microsoft was more straight to the point, and having a shorter conference than Sony kind of felt better. And Ubisoft definitely feel like they did a little bit better than EA this time around, because they seemed a little bit more focused and more fast-paced with the way that they did their conference, and EA just seemed like they should have had a little bit more CGI trailers, like a CGI trailer for the new Mass Effect game, or stuff like that just, you know, seems interesting to people to find out a little bit about the game. Not too much, but just a little bit about the story and that sort of thing, as opposed to just a behind-the-scenes footage and not knowing anything else about the game, besides seeing a short little bit of gameplay or a CGI scene or something like that. So anyway, this brings me to the end of my E3 wrap-up video, which is quite long. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, and if you've got any comments about E3, what was your favorite thing or anything like that, put it down below, and if you want to join the GamerHood, just subscribe. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.